A plunger? What was he thinking? I would have stuck that plunger on his bald headed. A plunger? Wasn't nothing about that cute. Welcome to La Vida Rosa. I'm your host Pinky, and today we're going to be talking about Love is Blind Season 5, Episodes 8 and 9. So if you'd like to see more, then just stay tuned, like, comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into this video. There has been so much tea that has been spilled. There's so much information, so much people coming out, lawsuits, people doing interviews, that it's almost like I can't even keep my mind concentrated on this season and these new episodes, because I know so much that's been going on behind the scenes that this stuff is almost irrelevant. Like, I'm just gonna drop a little taste of what's going on. Y'all, there were actually 5 couples that went on the honeymoon this season. We only saw 3. The other 2 were scrubbed. One was for SA, and I'm going to put that on the screen, what that is. The other is a little bit more controversial. We don't know the solid reason as to why. And I am going to do a video breaking both of those stories down, so don't you worry. But if you're like me and this season just was not making sense and things just felt edited weird and it's just disjointed, it's because they're editing around couples that actually participated, but they're not featured in this season. There were actually 3 weddings, y'all. One of those couples did fall off before the weddings, but there was another couple that continued on and got a wedding. But that's why it's kind of hard for me to even focus on what's going on in these episodes, because I'm too busy looking to see if I see somebody's head, see if I can see, one of these couples being featured. That's why the vacation only lasted like 1 or 2 episodes, when y'all know that lasts a lot longer. That's why this season is so short, because they had to scrub these people from the season, and that cuts a lot of footage, because clearly they're going to do these group hangouts where everybody is featured, and you can't feature that footage because 2 of the couples, something controversial happened and they had to cut them out. So we'll go more in depth on that later, but let's just go ahead and talk about these episodes. So we pick back up with the cliffhanger of Uche sitting down with Milton. Basically, Uche is trying to burn the house down because he feels some type of way that Lydia came on this show, ruined his chances of meeting someone and, getting a relationship as revenge, which all of this is alleged, but I tend to believe it. And so now he's trying to ruin her relationship with Milton. So that's why he pulled Milton to the side. He's trying to show him all these receipts about, how Lydia was stalking him and whatnot. It's funny because while Milton and Uche are having this conversation, Lydia's over here stressed, upset, don't know what to do. He said that he never tried to influence Milton not to like Lydia, but Lydia was on the other side in the women's pods trying to influence Aaliyah not to like Uche, trying to get in her head, telling her all of these, intimate details about him. He told Milton that she's the type to lie boldly in his face, and well, I guess y'all have that in common, Uche, because you lied boldly to Aaliyah and told her how great of a person that Lydia was, and then the next thing you know, you telling her about all these stalkerish things that she did. So which one is it? Okay, because your story is hard to believe too. You only like to tell the story in a way that puts you in a good light and omit everything that is negative about you. And so you're not above lying yourself, sir. So don't try to put it all on Lydia. Yeah, Lydia, we gonna get on Lydia. We gonna get on Lydia. If you're trying to throw a bomb at what Lydia's doing, she gonna do that all on her own. It's crazy. Milton is the youngest person in this entire experience, and he's the most mature. I have to give it to him. Like, I was looking at him like he's not ready to get married. I still don't think he is. But out of all these people here, he handles these confrontations the best. He won't let anybody see him sweat, and I'm not mad at him about that. So in the middle of their conversation, Lydia cannot take it anymore, and she busts in the room, grabs Milton's arm, and drags him out. like she's his mama or something. Once again, he decides to go in the next room with a group of people and reveal Lydia's sinister plan to throw a wrench in him getting married this season. He claims he wants to hold her accountable for Aaliyah. You don't care nothing about no Aaliyah. Stop it. You know you want revenge because you mad yourself. And you low-key still have feelings for that woman. But when Uche was dropping this bomb, Johnny was looking shocked. And you know how you like look shocked and you look around the room. And Stacy was like, what's that face? Why are you looking at me? And she was like, I'm not looking at you. I'm just being shocked right now. And it's like, why would she be looking at you? Like, why are you making this about you anyway? Like, Stacy is a little weirdo herself. And then we have Stacy speaking up, defending Lydia, which I'm not necessarily mad at Stacy because I'm sure she's made friends with Lydia at this point. But it's also, girl, you don't even know what's going on. Like, you going real hard right now. And so obviously Uche is going back and forth with Stacy because, you know, he's trying to defend himself. And then we have Miriam jump in. Now, did Miriam need to jump in necessarily? No. But you're sitting up here exposing Lydia to the entire group and saying all this stuff and asking these questions. Miriam was in the pod, and so she does know firsthand what went down and all that, so she has a right to speak up if she wants to. It's not like you just presented it to Stacy, you presented it to the entire group. I just didn't like how he was trying to shut Miriam down, like, I'll talk to Stacy, but you need to shut up. I didn't like that. Like, why can't Miriam speak her mind? He's over there calling her bitter and self-absorbed and trying to question, well, do you live in Houston or do you live in Saudi Arabia? Do you have a job or do you not have a job? Do you have a business? And then saying that she's here for TV. Why did you feel the need to go in on her like that? It was unnecessary. It wasn't even that deep. You got aggressive with her first and then want to play the victim and throw out all these shots. He's definitely a part of the sassy man apocalypse that is upon us, because none of that was necessary. He didn't even disrespect Lydia like that, and from your own mouth, she's done much worse to you. What was the reason for you saying all that nasty stuff about Miriam? And I love that Miriam did not back down. She clarified that she works in Saudi Arabia and she has a degree from Johns Hopkins University, very prestigious university. And in case y'all missed my last video, Miriam does not sell skin bleach like a lot of y'all thought. She actually sells natural skin butters for eczema and things like that. So y'all make sure y'all go check out her website because she does actually have a legit business, okay? And I hate that Uche came on here trying to discredit that woman. You started all this mess, but you're gonna run to the other side of the room after saying all of that and then be scrolling on your phone like a coward. No, come back here and address what you said. So then Milton escorts Lydia back in the room to the ladies and told the women to take care of her. I thought that was so funny. Lydia sits down and tells the women that Uche cheated on her in the past and now he's trying to make her look crazy. And, you know, Stacy said that he's a narcissist. He definitely has a lot of narcissistic traits. But I really wanted her to address saying that she felt that she would run into somebody from her past when coming into this experiment, because Johnny did ask her about the stalking and, you know, whether she knew he was going to be on the show or not. She basically brushed it all off, never gave a real answer. That let me know, yeah, because you're not straight up denying it. Then Uche finally got Milton alone again and told him about her looking at people's stories. Also told him about Lydia planning to be there because she just couldn't let Uche go. Uche lying, claims that he doesn't want this to affect his relationship with Lydia, but he wants to be upfront and wants him to have this information. Milton was real nonchalant about it, but I do think in the back of his mind, he did want to hear everything Uche had to say, because why else would he come back? Milton broke it down all the way to saying it's not Pythagorean theorem, but it's multidimensional calculus. I'm not going to act like I understood that. Basically, my name is Bennett and I ain't in it, okay? That don't have nothing to do with me. I do need for him to look at the signs and see that everything in the milk ain't clean with Lydia either, okay? But I also understand him not wanting to take any advice from her ex, because who would want to do that? Uche asked about their communication and Milton said they're good. He was like, well, you don't feel like y'all are just in the honeymoon phase? Like, he was really pushing and pushing. So he tried every seemingly mature yet manipulative trick in the book and it just wasn't working. You are not worried about Milton's well-being, okay? So stop trying to act like you are. You sound like the scorned lover at this point. I'm glad we're done with Uche at this point, okay? Exit stage left. We don't need nothing else from you. So now let's talk about this little confrontation between Izzy and Chris. I don't understand why Izzy is pulling all these people to the side. He wants to create this drama. Like, you are actively seeking out these confrontations. I don't know why. It's very messy. And once again, sassy man apocalypse. Chris told Izzy, I don't appreciate you telling Johnny that I said she was a bad person. And Izzy was like, see, there's a red flag right there because I didn't even say that. He said he didn't say that. And I don't think Johnny said he said that either. I think Chris heard that wrong and relayed that wrong because I don't even remember Johnny saying that to him. I remember her saying that Izzy and everybody else thought that she didn't deserve Chris, but not that Chris said that. Izzy claims that he's happy for them, but he just wanted to confront her about what she did. Chris knows who Johnny is at this point and he's still moving forward. So why are you trying to, it seems like you're trying to pull a Uche and break them up. Why? You're supposed to be with Stacy. And so his messy self told Chris, how you gonna ask me to be your boyfriend and say I love you 4 times and then say you're glad it didn't work out between us? And he claims that's why he called her out, and that was definitely uncalled for. You did not have to tell him that. Chris was surprised to hear that. He didn't know all of that extra information right there. But Izzy said even though she said I love you, he never said it back, and claims that he's just looking out for Chris because you remind me of myself. Now you sound like Lydia. Remember when Lydia was saying that to Aaliyah? You and me are just alike. You remind me of myself. Here comes Stacy coming over acting like she didn't want to be in no drama. You know, if Chris and Izzy are sitting down and having a conversation after he just got into it with Johnny earlier that night, you already know it's about to be some mess. So don't come over here like no innocent angel. Like, oh, I didn't even know it was going to be this. You didn't get up and walk away. You stayed right over there in it. As soon as Johnny saw Stacy come over there, she made her way over because she wasn't going to let no mess with her name involved go down without her being over there. And I'm not mad at her, okay? So Johnny came over saying they're probably trying to convince you of a story that didn't even happen. I don't know why they're doing that. And Stacy was like, Johnny was full of it in the pod, so you're probably full of it now. And passive aggressively says she hopes that y'all are really happy. Johnny told them, well, y'all must not be that happy because y'all are ganging up on my boyfriend. And I had to be on Johnny's side right then because it's like, y'all don't seem happy. Y'all constantly are stirring up drama. Basically, Stacy said she knew that Johnny would act funny had she known that she was the one talking to Izzy. And Johnny was like, well, that's exactly what you did. And Stacy was like, I did not. I shed tears knowing that you were going to be rejected. But she feels bad for crying now because she knows that you're a bad person. And that was nasty work. Stacy has a really ugly side that she let out during this whole confrontation. Johnny said, well, go ask anyone out there if I'm a bad person. Stacy said, I already have, and I'm confident in my opinion, which is why I don't look at you. Chris was like, okay, she's not a bad person, you guys. And she said, well, why didn't you propose to her? Touche. I can't even lie. That was a good one. Okay, why didn't you propose to her? Why did y'all have to get together at the airport? Johnny spoke up and said, because I went from a breakup to back to him and I could understand why he would be hesitant to get in a relationship with me. Izzy said, don't call it a breakup. What do you want to call it? We were talking and you broke it off with me. What do you want to call it? And then he said, well, I actually asked Stacy to be my girlfriend if you really want to get technical. And basically Johnny told Chris that she never asked him to be her boyfriend. All of this is so stupid. Like, it's so childish. Oh my goodness. The fact that Izzy really wants to drive this home, like, what point are you trying to prove? So at this point, Johnny is in tears while Izzy and Stacy go in on her to the group in the next room. None of it is this serious. Like, I ain't even gonna lie. I didn't really care for Johnny, but I don't feel like she deserved this. I don't feel like she deserved to be jumped on and ganged up on like this. I feel like the only reason why he's doing that is because she told the rest of the group that he had bad credit. I truly believe that. Regardless of how wishy-washy Johnny may be, If Chris wants to be in a relationship with her, why are y'all mad? Why are y'all mad about that? Like, that's his decision. I do think present day they are broken up, so, you know, we were right. But that doesn't mean, like, because he went back to her, I'm not going to get in my feelings and mad about it. Why are y'all letting y'all pressure get so high over it? So since we're already talking about Izzy and Stacy, let's jump into their relationship. Once they left the party and they came home, Izzy kept going on and on about how Johnny doesn't deserve Chris. I'm starting to think you're jealous and that you made a mistake and that you should have chosen Johnny. Because why are you so pressed? Why are you so mad? And so Stacy was starting to pick up on that as well and asking, well, why do you care? And, you know, once again, he's acting like he cares so much about Chris. And she's like, well, clearly he's defending her and coming after you. So why don't you just leave it alone? And, you know, they're going back and forth and he does the, well, let me talk thing. Now, I ain't gonna lie. Stacy do be over talking him. She does. But he also goes on these long tangents and says all these things that don't make sense because he knows he's in the wrong. And so he's trying to out-talk her. So I can kind of understand why she interrupts him while he's speaking. It was funny because he was like, well, let me talk. She was like, I am. And I'm giving my opinion while you talk. I was like, I'm gonna let him know. She told him, like, you're not acknowledging that you're being sensitive about someone who you once liked, and that's bothering me. And what is the real reason for this animosity that you have towards her? This is where she started showing her ugly side again. She was like, it's bad enough that I'm in the same boat with Johnny, basically alluding to the fact that Johnny is not as pretty as she is, and she can't believe that they were even in the same running to get him. Which I thought that was pretty nasty. And I'm thinking to myself, with those caveman brows, you should not be flattering yourself like that. That makeup is way too harsh for you to be doing all that talking about her looks. But she told him that she feels a way that you only get passionate about their relationship and what you feel about her when y'all are in conflict with other people. It's always in comparison to his last. Like, you're so much better than my last relationship, and I'm glad to have you, and you turned me on when you was going off on her, but you don't do that on a daily basis just because. She wants him to show how he feels about her all the time. He tried to reduce Johnny to a pod chick. Oh, she's just a chick from the pods. Basically, he didn't really have any real feelings for her. And that's how you know he's a player, and that's how he moves in his real life, because you're having all these deep conversations with Johnny, talking about how you really want to be with her and all this. And low-key, you were doing the same thing with Lydia, but you dropped them quick, fast, and in a hurry when you figured out that Stacy wanted you. And now all of a sudden, they didn't mean anything. And Stacy felt a way about that too. She was like, well, technically, I'm a pod chick as well. That's where you met me. And she basically feels like he's all talk and no action. All those sweet nothings that he was saying in the pods are not showing up in real life. Like, he said he was cook and be romantic, and he just hasn't shown any of that. And he's getting real defensive because he knows what she's saying is true, and he doesn't want to take accountability. He doesn't want to admit that. All he did was give excuses. He said that he has cleaned up, but he told her that he would have cooked for her, and he still hasn't done it. And just everything else he said was fluff. Well, I'm here for you emotionally. That's baseline. Duh. That's what you do in a relationship. Y'all want to get married, don't you? So you don't get credit for that. Anyway, he ran off crying because she was trying to hold him accountable and she wasn't budging. And it's funny because when she walked back there and saw that he was crying, she kind of just looked down at him like, okay. And so she walked back out and just left him there to cry child, and left the door open for the camera to see. And he was so mad that that didn't work. He just knew shedding some tears was going to work and make her apologize to him. And it did not. I mean, I was so happy that Stacy stood her ground and did not let that man emotionally manipulate her in that way. So later on, I didn't know Stacy was a Pilates instructor or whatever exercise that was, but she was cracking me up going in on those people. He came to her job the next day singing the same sad song of feeling unappreciated. He took my love for granted. Boy, bye. Don't nobody want to hear all of that. She didn't back down once again. Whatever she does for him, she wants it to be reciprocated. She's really trying to make sure that he's the person who he says he is before he gets to the altar. And he thinks he should just get a cookie for being there. So eventually she did break down a little bit, got a little lovey-dovey, and talked about how much she loved and cared about him and how she appreciated him, whatever. And so that's when he decided to go back out to the car and get her a gift. And it felt conditional. It felt like you weren't going to give her that gift unless she broke down and was a little soft and you felt like you had the upper hand in some way in that aspect. And I didn't like that. And then the gift wasn't even good. It was a coupon for dinner, which you said you was going to cook for her anyway. Why do I need a coupon? And then he gave her a plunger with a supposed sentimental message on it or something like that. I don't know what that was supposed to represent, and a picture of them. I'm gonna need you to drop a little money on me after that. I'm sorry, you already know Stacy's the type to like a nice gift. A plunger? What was he thinking? I would have stuck that plunger on his bald headed. A plunger? Wasn't nothing about that cute. So they make up. He invites his mom over so that Stacy can meet her. And I do find it interesting that after his mom and stepdad broke it off, he doesn't really have a relationship with him anymore. He thought that was his father for the longest until he found his biological father. And I'm sure that put some tension in there too. He already has like serious daddy issues, abandonment issues. So I just feel like Izzy has a lot he needs to work on before he can get married. The mom is very skeptical about this and wants him to be serious if they're going to actually get married. And she was also questioning if Stacy is the one for him. Stacy talks about how she's opened up and gone deeper with Izzy more than anyone else that she's ever dated in the past. And she's just way more willing to be vulnerable with him. And she says it feels like jumping out of a plane and doesn't know if someone will catch you or if you'll have a parachute. And, you know, both of them are sitting up there wiping tears that aren't there. And it's supposed to be a real emotional moment. Honestly, the mother, she was crying for real. But they just, it just feels so fake between them. And they ended up convincing her in the end, winning her over. He did surprise her and took her on a ride in an aircraft. And he said he did it because she likes private jets. And then it was like, I don't think that's what she meant by, you know, private jet. But do what you can do. I just don't think he has the pockets for Stacy. Stacy want to go on a private jet for real, for real. They just went on a little plane ride in a jet plane. They did have a little romantic dinner, and he said during the dinner that a good chunk of his family he didn't even invite to the wedding because he feels they're going to be really judgmental, and he clearly feels a way about that. But she said that my family has already accepted you open arms, and he's excited because he's always wanted a family and traditions, and he's excited to join. You know, they were in a good spot until them daggone finances popped up. So we pull into a scene with them. They're packing up their clothes, getting ready for the wedding day, and child, it's tense. And it turns out the tension is from him lying about his credit. I'm so glad this came up before the wedding, because that's something that Stacy had a right to know before she walked down that aisle. She ended up asking him why he doesn't have credit cards. And she asked him this before, and he lied and said, well, I had them in college and I just got rid of them because blah, blah, blah. I said this before in one of my past reviews. I don't understand why Stacy didn't ask more financial questions, since that's really, really important to her. Turns out she did. She asked him in the pods, is there anything I need to know about your finances and debt? And he said no. Mind you, while they're having this conversation and she's pointing out all the times that she asked him about his finances, that leg was shaking hard. He was trembling because he knew he was in the wrong. He was sweating. He just could not take the heat because he knew he done got caught red-handed. He claims he wasn't trying to hide it, but he wanted to bring it up when they were finally face to face. And that's BS, because you knew she wouldn't be checking for you after you told her you was in debt and you had bad credit. That's why you didn't say nothing. It's not about talking face to face. And why haven't you done it since? You said you wanted to lay it all out there and you knew it was going to be a long conversation. Why didn't you pull her to the side as soon as y'all got from that vacation or whatnot? Because you didn't plan on telling her that. You were being intentionally deceitful. And she just wasn't having it. She wasn't going to let him talk his way out of this one. And she told him, like, I feel like I can't trust you because you were not forthcoming. And he tried to make it seem like she just took it the wrong way and that she was just upset for no reason. And he's tried to pull the whole, you're not going to fight for this relationship card, and we're both scared, and he feels like he's walking on eggshells around her. That's because you had anxiety because you knew what you were hiding. And you knew she was going to have a problem with that. And she already told you multiple times about how she felt about finances and relationships, and you still didn't bring it up. Eventually, he told her that he has paid all of his debts off. It was only like $3,500. And at this point, he just has the bad credit. I'm no one to talk, right? But it's just the fact that the woman brought it up several times, and the woman wanted to talk to you about it, and you lied. And that's the bigger issue here. The deception, the sneaking, that's the problem. And I really hope Stacy takes that into account before she marries this man. Whew, y'all, this review is wearing me out. Oh my goodness, I feel like I have so much left to talk about. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to Lydia and Milton. When we pick up with them, you know, Lydia is just going off about Uche and just, you know, calling him a jerk or whatever. And Milton is just like very nonchalantly trying to say, well, why do you care so much? Let it go. You are this successful woman. You shouldn't even be worried about none of that. He's basically just like brush it off. And she says she's just more emotional than he is. And he was like, well, why give him all of that if it's not true? Yeah, exactly. If the man lying on you, why are you getting so up in arms and screaming and yelling and hollering and kicking and fussing and fighting and tripping over yourself? Like, you're doing a lot. I'm sorry. Lydia is just full of it. They settle that, and he ends up taking Lydia to meet his parents. And before they get there, he said that he hates bringing people around his parents because they're very strict. And I don't know, like, when they actually met the parents, they seemed cool. Maybe they were on their best behavior because they were on TV. I don't know. But I think Milton, maybe in comparison to other families, they're strict or, you know, uptight or whatever. But in reality, Milton, I don't know. Like, I would have to see more, because from what we saw, it didn't seem that bad. It seemed like they had, you know, the regular run-of-the-mill questions that anyone would have for their child if they were doing something like this in a situation. So they get to the house. It's his parents, his sister, and her husband. And it's funny because Milton is his middle name. His first name is James. He's named after his father, and so they call him Little James. And I'm just like, you rather go by Milton? It's funny because I saw this TikTok where this girl was like, Milton, like, out Milton's every other Milton there is. Like, he's the definition of Milton. And I'm just like, true. That name definitely fits you. I just don't understand why he wants to go by that rather than James. His mom did seem to be impressed by the fact that Lydia is a woman in STEM. But it's also funny because she asked for Lydia's last name so she could do a background check. Now, I ain't gonna lie, that would throw me off just a bit. I mean, it wouldn't scare me or anything because I don't have anything to pull up. It's just the fact that you're doing it. The sister asked if she has ever dated anyone that was Milton's age, as Milton is sitting there opening a wine bottle with his mouth. Like, Milton, do you not realize your mouth is touching the opening of that bottle as you're trying to open it up? Like, who's gonna want to drink after you doing that? In that moment, he solidified that he's the baby of the family. Because why else? Like, you're an adult of 24. Why are you doing that? Go find the bottle opener. Lydia said she's never dated someone his age. And she said, why would you want someone this young? And she's like, the older men have done me just as dirty. And, you know, I might as well give the younger men a chance. Lydia was saying all the things that she loved about him. So they asked, well, what don't you like about him? She was like, well, he leaves his stuff everywhere and she has to pick up after him in certain instances because he left a plate on the couch because he knew she was just gonna come behind him and clean it up like she was a maid. And even though Lydia isn't my favorite on this show, Milton, you trifling for that, because that is not your mama. You can at least walk that plate to the sink and rinse it off while you at it. That came as a shock to the parents because they didn't even know that Lydia and Milton were living together. They ended up asking her, well, is it a deal breaker that he's so messy? And she's like, no, but it does bother her. And the mother was like, well, you know, he is young, so he can learn. I'm like, well, mama, are you feeling Lydia? Like, Milton said to her that he feels like she's his best friend. And the mom was like, well, you know, it's good to feel like your partner is your best friend. I feel like that about your father. So she was really buttering the mama up. The sister wasn't having it, okay? The sister was on Lydia's head. The sister was on Milton's head, okay? If the mama and the daddy wasn't gonna do it, the sister was gonna come in and pick up where they dropped the ball. And I'm not mad because I really do think the sister senses Lydia's BS. And I also think she knows that her brother just isn't ready to be married in the first place. The sister was like, stop the press. You have a mature answer for everything, but what are y'all doing? What y'all really doing here, okay? Because sometimes we do have to stop and acknowledge that this is kind of like a wacky situation that most people in the real world would never take seriously. I'm glad the sister kind of brought us all back down to earth, right? Milton was like, can you stop the interrogation, please? Like, with a huge grin on his face, almost laughing, like, stop the interrogation. The sister was like, you're engaged and getting married in 2 weeks. Why? Milton really couldn't take the heat, but I'll give it to Lydia. Lydia was not folding. Lydia was ready for every single answer. The dad asked, well, how do you know this is the time? And the sister was like, because it's phony. And so Milton was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And so eventually the sister and the mother pulled Lydia to the side so they could have their own one-on-one with her. They asked Lydia, why she liked Milton so much. And I gasped because when Lydia was answering some of these questions, she was cursing. And yes, they're grown, but that's his mama. Like, I gasped. Like, and they were even a little, what? Like, she was just cursing and it just was like, where's your couth? Where's your manners? Oh my goodness. They tell her that her answers seem scripted. Lydia kept her composure, but you could see in her eyes that she was livid. That riled her up a little bit, but once again, she kept her cool the whole time. She claims that she's genuine. The sister knows her brother well, and she just doesn't see confirmation in him that he's ready. They go wedding shopping. I told y'all there was another couple featured in this season. They made it to the weddings and everything. She was featured in this wedding shopping scene with Lydia, but they chopped it and screwed and edited it to make it seem like she was just one of Lydia's friends from the pods supporting her with her wedding dress shopping. Well, then why is she sitting all the way on the other side of the room with random people sitting behind her that I'm assuming are her loved ones actually supporting her and the fact that she is getting married as well? They let her speak and everything on this episode, but the way they edited it, they tried to make it seem like she was there for Lydia and not for her own wedding dress. And I thought that was highly deceptive, but they had no other choice but to include her in that because they wouldn't be able to show that footage. Netflix, you're getting exposed left and right. So then we see that Milton takes Lydia to this nice restaurant that has a lot of crystals there, because they're both like nerds about rocks and the earth and things like that. She's a geologist, so this is something that she would appreciate, even though she kind of had her nose turned up at some point. I'm just like, I thought this is what you like. My problem was with, he had on this wrinkled plain black tee. She's all dressed up, got on heels, fancy or whatnot. You got on a wrinkled black shirt. I'm not saying you had to put on a tuxedo, but you couldn't put on a button up and some nice slacks and a pair of loafers. He told her that she's acting differently than how she was in the pods. And he says that she's cranky when she wakes up for no reason. And she said that it's not for no reason. It's because you left the dishes in the sink for 3 days after I asked you to wash them. And you left food on the nightstand for days and clothes on the floor. And not to mention that plate he left on the couch. So I could totally, once again, not a Lydia fan, but I could totally see where she was coming from with that. And I could totally see why she be sounding like his mother, because he acts like a child in that aspect. She claims that he said that he wasn't messy while he was in the pods. She's not seeing that come to fruition in real life. He's like, oh, I'm not messy. You are. He said that he feels like he can't express his grievances with her because she's so emotional. And basically he feels like he's walking on eggshells. Like I said, I've observed that Milton can be very passive aggressive and Lydia is aggressive aggressive. So I could totally understand where he's coming from with that. He didn't like the way she handled the situation with Uche. And she felt a way that he wanted her to be more level-headed. Like, she was offended. And she said she was proud of the way that she acted. And he was like, well, you could have just left. And she was like, I did leave twice. And he was like, that's not truly leaving if you went back. Lydia was like, well, you were nowhere to be found. Lydia doesn't think that she should have to control her emotions as an adult. And yes, things will trigger you, things will affect you, people will say things to you that will make your head want to spin, that will make steam come out of your ears, but you have the power over how you react. It's crazy how someone as young as Milton can understand that, has that down pat, but Lydia at her big age cannot grasp that concept. And also he's feeling away because he sees that she's in her feelings over her ex, and she accuses him of not having any emotions at all. She feels like he judged her, and he said he wouldn't even be in this relationship right now still after all that happened if he was judging her, and he should be able to check her from time to time about the way she acts, the same way she checked him about those towels. And she just isn't listening to him and getting super defensive at the slightest critique, basically proving his point as to why he doesn't like to bring things up to her. And he said he hates to argue and thinks that she does like to argue. She revels in it. And he doesn't feel the need to bang on his chest to get his point across. He feels getting emotional gets you nowhere. And she says, well, her getting emotional is what got her to where she is today. Yeah, stalking Uche onto this show. It sure did. It sure did. He feels that their different approaches to arguments will affect their parenting styles. And he says that he doesn't want to teach their children to lead with emotion. If I were in that same situation and I had to deal with my ex, I would have just walked away. I wouldn't have acted the way that you did. And she just had to keep mentioning how big of a jerk that Uche is. And he was like, yeah, thanks for saying that for the millionth time, because it once again shows how far deep in her emotions that she is. That made her mad, and she got up and walked away. And man, he just looked so stressed out at that table. Just, oh Lord, like he was just so stressed out. But she ran out. She cried. I don't know if she expected for him to follow her. He didn't. He sat there, drank his wine or whatever he was drinking, and she quietly came back to the table, and they weirdly started eating without saying another word. And then after they ate their food a little bit, he apologized for, I guess, checking her, and she ended up apologizing for doing things that he doesn't like, but that's just her. So that what that tells me is that she's going to continue to do it, because it was like one of those apologies like, I apologize for you feeling that way, but this is me and I'm not changing. So something tells me that Milton wouldn't be accepting a fraction of that behavior if Lydia looked like Aaliyah. When a Latina woman does it, it's spicy and fiery and hot and sassy. But when a black woman do it, we angry, we loud, we belligerent. Lydia basically gets away with murder, okay? But I'm gonna let that slide. I saw it though, but I'm gonna let it slide. Y'all, after this extremely long review, make sure y'all leave a like on this. Like, it took everything I had in me to get this review out to you. So please leave a comment, like the video. Let me know what y'all think down below. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? I would love to hear your opinion. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Peace.